Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the F to the L to the double OG. That's right, the Fantasy League of the Ordinary Gentlemen, the Flu.
The Fluke. Thank you, Gary. Yo, what up, Gary? Thanks. Getting hype on that intro right there. I opened my beer and shot it all over my computer screen.
That's what she said.
That's hey, wait a minute.
Hey,
calm down.
You're supposed to do that later on tonight.
Hey, my wife. How are we, guys? What is up? How are we? Week 1.
Week 1 is in the books.
Week
man.
1's in the books. Week 2 is
thank God.
20. I mean, this is the Wednesday night, guys. We're 24 hours away from Ty being at another football game. We'll get to that in a little while. But yeah, guys, week 1, we decided to take the week off. It was we just wanted to enjoy week 1, and it was you know there's a lot to take in. I don't know. It's a feeling. You get the hair on the back of your neck again. You get to hang out with your friends. You get goodbye family. You get all that kind of fun stuff. You get cold beer. But yeah, nonetheless, let's get into it. I am the commish Joshua T.A. Hicks. Find me on Twitter at jhicks804. Cold beer of the night. The beer is called Nowhere But Texas. It's a premium lager. It is from Legal Draft Brewery in Arlington, Texas. It's a lager. I mean, it's a good lager. But
that's interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, we're rocking. Let's go to my left on the Zoom. I got to hang out with this guy on Sunday for football. It was great.
He's tired as fuck.
We both were, boss. We both were. He spoke some ribs. They were off the chain. They're amazing as usual. Not the uncooked pork butt, which was still great. But we already talked about that on previous podcasts. Ladies, and he put an article out, a waiver wire article out on www.thefluke.com this week. Go check that out if you haven't yet. So there might be a few guys left that maybe aren't on your teams yet, but maybe a nice stash. But anyways, Gary Jakowski, guys, on Twitter at Gars Poetica. What is up, my man?
What's going on? Yeah, like with that article, I'm going to try and get that out at least by Monday night, so it gives the readers and our listeners at least a spot to at least give them a whole full day to check out maybe the possibility of who they can drop, or to gain one of those guys off the waiver wire. But it was an interesting week, a lot of craziness. I'm sure Ty, who I'll intro in a minute, can say for the craziness that he's watched over the weekend. But yeah, it's great to have football back. We do have to realize that it is week 1, and then in week 1, anything can happen. Anything can happen to where Houston literally destroys the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, anything that happened to where Mark Ingram, of all people, gets 26 rushing attempts and literally is pretty much, a possible waiver wire asset for this coming week too. But it's a crazy week. I mean, we do got to calm down. We've seen some players, Zeke, Aaron Jones, to name a couple, who just didn't produce well. But I mean, we'll be able to see them, I'm sure, pick it right back up, especially if you got them in the first round. But besides all that, I am drinking a Stone Hazy IPA. Yes, very amazingly hazy IPA, it says on the bottom as well. But yeah, pretty good, not too bad. And yeah, I was just tired as fuck on Sunday. I'm sure Josh was able to see me dozing out a few times because I woke up at 6 o'clock after taking 3 hours of sleep and trying to smoke some pork for some ribs. But
you guys in your lack of sleep.
I know, man.
I'm an old man, dude. I gotta get it.
I try to every now and then. I feel like I go to bed at midnight every night now.
I mean, for what it's worth, I fell asleep at 8 o'clock yesterday. So
you prepped. You did good.
Smart man. And
Yes.
for me to intro, he is known as the social media ghost at 757 Bills Mafia. The man also went to go see Buffalo face Pittsburgh, which I thought Buffalo had it. I guess he can let us all know how it went. But how was the experience? I mean, although the game, how was the experience? Much of Tyson Colton.
So for those that don't know, so I went to the Bills game. I also went to Notre Dame University. If people don't know, that's my college football team. I've never been to a Notre Dame game. I've been a fan for 28 years. Despite being a fan, despite our grandmother, Hicks and I's grandmother, despising Notre Dame, I was always a Notre Dame fan. Sorry, Wawa. It just is what it is.
Sorry, she despises about 90% of the shit I did. But anyways.
But anyway, I had a good time there. It was good to say that I went to my first ever Notre Dame game. Who knows if I'll go, but I did it, and I don't regret it, even though I spent a bunch of money. As far as the Bills game, I don't want to talk about the game.
You had a good time.
Wait,
you had a good
did you
time.
go through a table? Did you watch anybody?
No, I did not. No, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Damn, you didn't have it on video?
No, I did not.
You didn't tell us that. You didn't tell us that.
I was in a hurry because, again, okay, for those that don't know about going to a Bills game, I got there about 10 o'clock. I didn't park till about 11:30.
Good night.
Yeah. So you have to get to a Bills game by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. In fact, on Twitter, I forget who the reporter's name. Her name is Adida Q Kiwana. She's like Middle Eastern, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful woman, by the way. She was at the game. She was trying to get to the game at 8 o'clock, and she was in traffic. So
is it just like lack of like parking people, or is it just like they don't have it like routed right, or like?
Well, I think there's multiple reasons. Yeah, so there's not too many ways to get into the stadium. You can get there by Abbott Road and Southwestern Avenue. A lot of the paid parking lots are cash. So, and if you're like me, you're spoiled by debit card, credit card, whatever. So that's another thing. And once you get in, like I said, once you get close and you try to like get out, it's hard to get out. So you're basically just stuck in traffic. So I was in a hurry to get into the stadium. So yeah, I did happen to see someone get put through a table, but I did not get it on video. I was in it from Josh. You can tell, but I was in the corner of the end zone, and I'll be honest, it was not a bad seat. Met a few people. They were really nice. Bills fans in general are nice, unless you're like the one guy in front of us that was 3 sheets to the wind before kickoff even started, and I don't know how these Steeler fans did not want to punch me in the face. Kudos to them. But as far as the game goes, the block punt really was the game. And I'll be honest with you, at 10 minutes, I said, this game's over. I was already saying this game's over. The offensive line looked like crap. The defense fell apart in the second half. Josh Allen looked like a mixture of rookie Josh Allen and second-year Josh Allen. Couldn't hit the deep ball. He had Manuel Sanders down the seam, he had Manuel Sanders wide open in cover 2, had both the safeties beat, and he overthrew him like he does. The offense just looked like crap, man. And but in all fairness, the only defense I'll have is that Pittsburgh's defense is really good, and they've played them the last 2 years. You're not going to just walk all over Pittsburgh 3 years in a row and expect to beat them by 40 points. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh played a great game. Their defense is really good. Probably got even better. Maybe people might disagree with me, but the defense got better with Melvin Ingram. Re-signing TJ Watt, bringing back Fitzpatrick again. He came back. Cameron Sutton, their corner, who was a liability last year, had a really good game against Buffalo. And then they brought Joe Schobert back, or they brought Joe Schobert from Jacksonville. He's a really good linebacker, but let's be honest, he played for the Jaguars. So, and he played for the Browns last year, but before they played for the Jaguars. So, but yeah, it is what it is. Man.
All good.
I digress.
And then you're on to the WFT. You'll be at the game tomorrow night. Thursday Night Football.
I like going to Washington games, man. I mean, Josh, our family was basically grew up Redskin fans, and so there's still a part of me that will root for Washington as much crap as I give to my dad because he's obnoxious whenever they win, or my buddy, one of my closest friends, he's obnoxious too. But there'll always be a part of me that will root for Washington, and we always seem to be able to stand at the end zone. And it's great seats, and it's great. Even though you're standing, it's still a great view, and nobody says, "Hey, go back to your seats." They just allow you to stand there. So
that's awesome.
Either way, we get good seats. So
just don't sit where the pipe burst on Sunday.
Heard of that.
Just don't do that.
We asked my buddy if he got hit with that, but he said nah. He didn't get sprayed.
All right, well, good. I'm glad he didn't get hit, because that looked horrible for a guy that works in the industry that deals with stuff like that. I know. Yeah. Anyways, I digress. Guys, let's get into it. So what we're gonna do this week is kind of we're recording on a Wednesday night, like we said, and probably I'm sure 90, 80, whatever, 100% of leagues have already had their waiver wires have ran. And of course, I mean, short game, long game. We want to talk about these guys that these waiver wire ad guys, these guys that kind of blew up out of nowhere week one, and kind of look, at the like long game of it. If we see what these guys are, going to carry their efficiency, out in a couple weeks, and we'll look at it from a redraft, and we'll look at it from a dynasty standpoint, see if these guys are maybe worth a trade and what they're worth, all that good stuff. Before we get into that, guys, like we already mentioned, check out our website, www.theflug.com, and our group Twitter, the Twitter for the podcast is @theflug_FF. We are on iTunes and Spotify and Podbean. Just click subscribe, and if you want to do a 5-star review, free hugs. And anyways, are we ready, boys? Did I get everything?
Yeah, we nailed it.
All right, let's rock and roll. I'll start with he's probably the number one ad this week, right, guys? Elijah Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
So Mostert went down, and it ended up being he's out for the season now. It wasn't an ACL tear, it wasn't an Achilles tear. Knee. I'm not sure the extent of it, but anyways, he's gone.
He chipped some cartilage in there too.
Yeah. And let me preface this. Big surprise. Because I think a couple of us here on the pod are Trey Sermon guys. He was a healthy scratch. Being not productive. I forget what Kyle Shanahan said, but he's in the doghouse right now. Let's see if he comes out now. But anyways, circle the wagons back around. It wasn't Hasty. It was Elijah Mitchell who ended up taking on the workload, getting 19 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. Like we said, Mostert's out. You got to think Sermon's going to come back into the lineup, right?
Yeah. You got to think Sermon's kind of like the same as Mostert in a way, which is probably why they gave him a healthy scratch as it is. In some capacity too, but I mean, Mostert only had like 2 rushing attempts, and
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, I don't know if they really, even though Jamaica Hasty had a touchdown run, I've never gotten the feeling that they were really like sold on him being the guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just never got that feeling. I don't get that feeling, even though he scored a touchdown. I still don't get that feeling with these 2 rookies being in the same backfield.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is too, like I mean, I was kind of thinking like with Trey Sermon, you're not going to use him in special teams. There's a good chance you can use Elijah Mitchell and Jermichael Hasty in the special teams area as well. It's Shanahan is an interesting coach, man, because I mean, if you're in the doghouse in some ways, you're in the doghouse. I mean, we also got to look at Brandon Ayuk too, in a way too. Like
Yeah.
he's pretty much saying like if he's not gonna produce or like if he's not gonna, you know, I forget exactly what Shanahan said about Ayuk, but it's obviously it's almost like Dante Pettis 2.0 in a way. It's like
Oh
if he
God.
doesn't like you and like yeah, so I mean it's just I don't know, man. He's either on the hot seat of like not getting any looks, and you have somebody like Trent Sherfield out there instead of Ayuk, or I mean, Ayuk's got to get his shit together and get back with the team. So, but back to like Trey Sermon, I think it's going to be like a balance, man. We've seen this team do it all the time. I mean, whichever one has the hot hand, he's going to roll it. So, yeah, Elijah Mitchell, I think is like probably the number one pickup because obviously this team is a really good schemed offense for the running game. So, I don't mind it at all.
Jermichael Hasty literally posting a Jordan Howard S stat line. 1 carry for 3 yards and a touchdown. I don't know if he even had a 3-yard run in it back in the day. It was more like 2-yard runs.
Mhm.
But
I was,
go ahead, Ty.
I was just gonna say the whole Brandon Ayuk thing. I think it was just he needs to be. I think what Shanahan said is he needs to learn how to become a pro. Was what I got out of that. Was,
Right. Yeah, that's
doing
exactly
the
what
right
it
thing,
said.
doing the right things to be a pro. So, but yeah, I agree with you on the running back situation.
So let's get into it. I mean, what do you, looking at the next couple of weeks, San Fran is at Philly, and then they play Green Bay, week 3, and then week 4 they play Seattle. Guys, so Philly gave up 124 rushing yards to Atlanta in week 1, and then they play Green Bay. Green Bay gave up 171 rushing yards, the second most to week 1. I know, again, small sample size, but just, I mean, those are, I mean, potentially 2 decent matchups, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say Green Bay's ever been great at stopping the run, so I kind of like that matchup. I mean, Gary, you could probably speak on more the Philly, whether you think they've been decent or stopping the pass or stopping the run, but I would say the Green Bay is a great matchup.
Yeah. I'm talking about Green Bay and Detroit coming up.
Philly and
I
Green Bay.
was saying whether Philly, whether you think they stop the run well, because I mean, I didn't watch the Atlanta Philadelphia game, but I mean, as you know, Philadelphia's kicking the shit out of Atlanta. So, and I don't think Mike Davis put up really great rushing stats. I think a lot of it came from Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, Cordero Patterson did pretty decent in running game too. It's interesting to see how this defense is going to go with the new defensive coordinator. But I know, I mean, within the past few years, like Philadelphia, like they're just great on that run defense. They're still pretty solid. I mean, it's just the fact that the defensive scheme for the defensive backs is just never pretty good. So I mean, the running game is going to be difficult against Philly, but passing game should be pretty legit. So start your George Kitts.
All right, so what do you got? I mean, did you guys attempt to add him? Do you guys think this is a good, I mean, I feel like, I mean, a lot of people probably splurged their waiver wire pick. I mean, do you guys like it? I mean, do you guys think Sermon is going to be a factor or what?
I think he's going to be in the mix. Like, I mean, I can see a split between them. We'll have to see how that timeshare is. You got to think, like, I mean, Mostert would have been the guy if he didn't go down. So, I mean, what would we really have seen out of Elijah Mitchell, too?
Yeah.
I'm sure Shanahan likes what he saw, but does that mean he's going to get the bulk of it? Or is this going to be like a 50-50, maybe 40-40 and then a 20 for, JaMychal Hasty. Like, it's just, you never know with this backfield. So then these next couple of weeks, I mean, obviously, I think Elijah Mitchell, maybe even Trey Sermon, since he's activated now, like they can be good flex plays, but that's all I would want to categorize them as right now. JaMychal Hasty, I don't think he will miss anything.
Yeah. I'm with Gary. They actually, I seen they signed Trenton Cannon off the Ravens practice squad, which doesn't do much, but I mean, it shows you that they're just looking for healthy receivers, healthy running backs at this point.
Kerryon Johnson, they got too.
Yeah, I forgot about him. So yeah, they're just looking for healthy running backs at this point. And like I said, I'll I'll repeat myself, but I just never get the feeling that JaMychal Hasty is the absolute guy unless Sermon and Mitchell get hurt. So
true.
All right. Well, all right. Let's jump from him. You guys got anything else on him, or are you guys good?
Good.
All right. Let's jump to one more 49. Let's go to Debo. Garrett already mentioned it. Brian Ayuk was pretty much he was in the doghouse. The 49ers, they're pretty cutthroat, man. I mean, like we said, Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch, and then Ayuk, he didn't get did he get a target?
I think he got a couple.
I think he got one or two, if I'm not mistaken.
But he was But anyways, he put up.
No, he didn't get any targets.
Yeah, he put up a goose egg in fantasy, and I'm sure. I mean, if you owned him, you were starting him absolutely. But so Debo reaped the benefits, catching 9 for 189 and 1 touchdown. And again, they're at Philly, Green Bay, and then Seattle the next 3 weeks. I guess let's look at it let's start with Debo and then we'll jump to Ayuk. I mean, Debo's stock is I think it's through the roof right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because who's really gonna challenge him to be the number one?
Mm-hmm.
Trent Sherfield or Mohamed Sanu. The only, as far as the number one option, it's still Kittle. But as far as wide receivers go, the talent's not really there at receiver. And yeah, this whole Ayuk thing is big time,
Yeah, I think Ayuk was on special teams too a little bit. But going back on that, Detroit was a really easy team.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, they're going to have a little bit more, of a legit offense going. You're not really going to think of Mohamed Sanu and Trent Sherfield as your wide receiver too. So I think we're going to probably see more of Ayuk for sure. I see that he's practicing in full right now. So, that's something we're going to watch. But just going back on Debo, he's coming back from that injury he had about 2 years ago, and last year he was just iffy, dude. It's like he was still trying to hinder off of that injury and whatnot too. But I think he looks great.
Yeah.
What did he have? He had
cut
12 target.
Yeah, 9 of 12, 189, 1 touchdown, and a 79-yard. One of them he had a 79-yard touchdown.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Which, that's a career high in receiving yards, and only one other time did he have 9 catches or more, which was, I believe, last year against the Rams when he had 11. So, I can still see him having a good game against Philadelphia, but I don't see him getting 189 yards on Philadelphia. I just don't see that happening. Philadelphia and maybe it's more of Matt Ryan, but Philadelphia did a great job on Calvin Ridley, only holding them to 51 yards. So, and then I think Pitts had 30 yards and Hurst had 28. I can't remember what Russell Gage got, but they shut down, for all intents and purposes, shut down Ridley.
Gage put up a 0.
There you go.
Gage did nothing.
Even Kyle Pitts didn't do anything either.
Yeah.
So it
No,
was.
he
It's
didn't-
He had
like
30
we saw.
yards.
Well, Calvin Ridley, he had like I think 3 receptions right out the gate, and I think it was on the first drive. And I was like, shit, he's gonna have a monster game.
Yeah.
And all of a
we
sudden, he just got shut down the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Gary and I were watching it. Yeah, and the first it was right before you got over. I was watching the game
Mm-hmm.
because I had it on because you were coming over.
Yep.
And but no, I mean they're often like the first drive they were clicking, man. Like Mike Davis was busting off some runs, and yeah, and then Hayden Hurst almost scored a touchdown, and ended up kicking a field goal. But I was going to get to it later, but Matt Ryan, guys, I don't know.
I don't really know if it's really his fault because that deep offensive line was not good. Like,
Yeah.
they've had problems
For the past few years.
Yeah,
Really, ever since that Super Bowl team.
And was it Malik Jackson for the Eagles? I think.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, he was a fucking hunk. I think he had 2 or 3. No, I'm sorry. I think it was Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, it was Javon Hargrave. Now that I remember the waiver wire. Yeah, he had 2 sacks.
I think Malik Jackson was on the team last year, but Hargrave, yeah, like he had a monster game. He lit it up.
He's a good player. I was hoping Buffalo would get him last year, and I thought he was going to go back to Pittsburgh, but he's a good player. But
yep.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Ty.
I was just going to say, I think Debo could have. I mean, he had 800 yards 2 years ago, his rookie year. I mean, obviously he's off to a great start getting past 800, but like I said, Philadelphia, it's night and day between Philadelphia's defense and Detroit's defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, guys, let's just jump to the next. Ty, you got a guy you want to mention?
I'll go. I have a few. I'll go Sterling Shepard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hear about Kenny Galladay. That's all the news was about Kenny Galladay, this, Kenny Galladay, that. And, you know, Kenny Galladay's been hurt. And I mean, I think Kenny Galladay had, I think it was like 4 catches, 64 yards on 6 targets. But then, you know, they still have Slayton, which, you know, he's very hot and cold, but didn't seem like him and Daniel Jones were on point. I think Slayton had 65 yards and 3 catches, but it was 7 targets. But Sterling Shepard, and, you know, you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like the talent has always been there. I mean, this guy was a 2nd-round draft choice in 2016, but he's never accumulated more than 872 yards, and he's never accumulated more than 66 catches. He's had 100 targets 2 years. And obviously, you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. I get that. And then Eli was on the back end of his career, but he's also been hurt a couple games each year or a game or two. But 9 targets, 7 receptions, 113 yards, and 1 touchdown. Really, in my opinion, the only really true touchdown, because the other touchdown came at I think the last play of the game, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it just seemed like him and Daniel Jones were on point better than the other two. Of course, he's played with Daniel Jones longer than Kenny Galladay. But like I said, I feel like this guy has a talent to be 1,000 yards. Like I said, they wouldn't have drafted him 2nd round if they didn't think he had the talent. Obviously, different regime, but I just always feel like the talent's there, but there's just always either the offensive line sucks or the quarterback sucks or the running back sucks, you know, but he's always had the talent. And Denver's defense is not going to be a slouch. I mean, Von Miller had 2 sacks. I mean, the pass rush was there for Denver. You know, I'll be honest, I can't remember the whole secondary, but Denver's defense, despite having Drew Lock last year, their defense was still pretty good. So it wasn't like he played against the Jaguars. This wasn't against the Jaguars defense or against the Lions defense. This was still a really good defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, what's it? Ingram hurt again. He's out again for the Thursday game.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Slayton's I think banged up. Galladay, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Galladay is always banged up too. So yeah, I mean, this is
yeah. I think
next man up.
Darius Toney only had like about 2 targets, but you got to think like Saquon Barkley.
did nothing.
they're easing him in too. So I mean, that's something like Sterling Shepard was the one that they wanted to look at and like make sure they concentrated on. Plus, he's great in like crossing routes and stuff like that, man, like the middle of the field. So he's definitely a great PPR value. We were like when Ty was saying too, like I mean, he doesn't play a full season at times, but I mean, he barely has any touchdown upside at all either every year. So it's all about he's going to garner a few like good, decent games here and there, but I still consider him a wide receiver 3, maybe possibly wide receiver 4. It's just he's going to have great games like this. It's I mean, like we just talked about in the beginning of the podcast, and this is week 1, where like I mean, some defenses are still trying to gel. I mean, and you just got to be able to capitalize where you can with certain players. So I like Sterling Shepard, man. I think he's going to be a decent like wide receiver 3 throughout the year, and then especially if Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton, none of those guys can pick up the slack. Evan Ingram, even Kyle Rudolph. Like I mean, if none of them can pick up the slack. I mean, Sterling Shepard's the one to benefit off of that.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a make or break year. It probably has been for the past couple of years, but he's not young. I mean, he's 28 years old. So you start getting that 28, 29 years old as a wide receiver, you start to kind of decline unless you're, Calvin Johnson or one of these freak of natures. But most of the time, 28, 20, any position, you're going to start seeing a decline. So this is a big year. I think it's a big year this is his 6th year. It doesn't feel like it, but this is his 6th year. So it's a big year for him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you. So like we said, so they play Thursday night. Then they have Atlanta, which I think is a pretty good matchup.
Yeah.
And then they're at New Orleans, which is probably not.
But then I think they got Dallas after that, though.
Nice.
So you got 3
matchups.
Really good matchups. Yeah. I mean, even this weekend look, Keenan Allen had 100 yards. Mike Williams had 82 yards. I mean, and then Jared Cook had 56 yards. I mean, even this week's a good matchup. I don't know. I was never big on William Jackson, Washington's corner, and Keenan Fuller's pretty good, but I've never been big on William Jackson. Sorry, Redskin fans. But that's just my opinion. So this is a good matchup this tomorrow as well.
Yeah. As far as dynasty goes, you guys want to move Sterling? You trying to grab him? Think he's a hold?
I'm not going out of my way. Yeah, I'm not going out of my way to get him. But I mean, if you already have him, I think he's a good wide receiver 3.
Yeah. If you're in a deep league, like a 14 or 16, like we are the 14, then yeah. But I mean, these like 8 or 10 leagues, I don't know. Definitely not 8.
Mm-hmm. No, we
don't. I won't even say 10, but yeah, if you're in the 14 or 16 team leagues, yeah, sure. I mean, you can always use a good wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
So
guys, let's jump. I want to jump to the other side of that game, and I want to talk Melvin Gordon. He had less carries than Javonte Williams. Put up more yards. He had a 70-yard touchdown. So and he caught 3 passes for 17 yards. So I mean, he put up more yards, less carries. But if you subtract that 70-yard touchdown, then he was averaging like 3 yards per carry. Yeah. As through Williams 45, which I mean isn't much better. So I guess this is kind of a double question. I mean, what do you guys think about the Denver rushing game? Are you? I mean, do you think Gordon? Do you think this helps Gordon? I mean, they played Jacksonville this week, which is great. I mean, they gave up 160 rushing yards to Houston. So, I think Denver is a better team than Houston. Not really tricking anybody there, but yeah, I'll toss it to you guys. Go ahead.
What? Go ahead, Garrett. Okay. I mean, certainly, like you said, you minus this, you subtract the 70-yard touchdown run, and it's 3.1, and then Javonte Williams. So that was a good opportunity for Javonte Williams. He averages 3.1 yards per carry. So I mean, really, I guess Melvin Gordon took the bull by the horns in a way because it's a 70-yard touchdown run, but not really. Obviously, there was the opportunity for Javonte Williams.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like they were playing from behind. They were, they were getting their carries. Of course, I guess that also means that the Giants are expecting a run. But, this was a good opportunity for Javonte Williams. We keep hearing about Javonte Williams being the guy, but, he didn't take the bull by the horn. So you still got to mix in Gordon, whether you like him or not. So I still think it's a split carries. Maybe Gordon gets a few more or a couple more than Javonte, but nobody really, stood out besides that 7-yard touchdown run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they both had split touches in a way too. So, I mean, it's just something where I think they could pretty much split series. I mean, one could take one series, the other one could take another series. It's just we were kind of wondering how this would go. We knew like it wasn't going to be like the Javonte Williams show right off the bat, and we kind of thought maybe Melvin Gordon would be like the guy for the first few games of the season, and then that's when we see Javonte go off. But I mean, like you see any other backfields, man. Like I mean, there's going to be split touches. There's going to be a long season, so I mean, I don't see either. Both of them produced, obviously, so I don't see any problem with them being a decent running back too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I think I don't know if you go dynasty. I mean, I know Javonte Williams has played one NFL game, but I don't know. Maybe somebody's down on him, and you could be a buy low candidate. But that, I mean, if you can get him a little cheaper, I don't know. I don't think you can, but I don't know. Optimism.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay up for him in dynasty, especially with
Yeah.
him probably being the guy next year for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Melvin. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was a coin toss in a lot of redraft leagues who got drafted first. But
Melvin's somebody that's good for you. Like, I mean, when you have who's some guys that's been like a Kenneth Gainwell, he's good to like at least give you a decent stretch within the first half of the season. If you got like a Michael Carter, Kenneth Gainwell, Trey Sermon, those guys, or like, somebody else that's kind of like in backup mode, but can pretty much take the workload, like an AJ Dillon or somebody like that. Like just guys that like they're not going to produce until later in the season. I think Melvin Gordon can get you through that until it's time to plug and pull somebody else in there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah.
All right, Ty, you got another guy?
This ain't really so much of a surprise, but I know I just picked up this guy. I'm in a bunch of leagues, but I just picked up this guy, and he's not a surprise. But I'll say Brandon Cooks only from a certain point of playing with a new quarterback. I mean, he does produce. I mean, let's be honest. He had 1,150 yards last year, but this is more, and like I said, we talked about what we were going to do. This is more of a surprise standpoint for me.
No, I'm with you.
All the shit that's happened with Houston. Is Deshaun Watson going to go to jail? Is he going to be, charged? How many of them how serious are these allegations? Are any of them real? Deshaun Watson hates that the Houston Texans didn't pick the guy that he wanted as a head coach. He doesn't like the head coach. Well, now he's going to be inactive for every game. All right, now we have Tyrod. We also have Davis Mills. We drafted Davis Mills in the third round. Is Davis Mills ready to start over Tyrod? Okay, well, now Tyrod's going to be a starter. We've seen Tyrod as a starter. I'm a Bills fan. I've seen Tyrod as a starter. Even with the Browns, he got beat out by Baker eventually. And then last year as a Charger, he got set up. So and again, they were going against Jacksonville, but I did a pick 'em, and I'm looking at this game. I'm going, I guess somebody's got to win, so I'll pick fucking Houston. And sure enough, Brandon Cooks does what Brandon Cooks does: 7 targets, 5 catches, 132 yards. So again, they were going up against Jacksonville's defense, but again, new quarterback, new system, new head coach. I mean, just about new everything at that offense. Yeah, like I said, new coordinator, new head coach, new quarterback, new running backs, hell, new tight end, the Farrell Brown, which maybe I'll mention later on. Danny Amendola is technically Danny Amendola was the second leading wide receiver on the team. He's 35 years old. He had 5 catches, 34 yards. So that tells you what kind of state they're in. Their tight end, Farrell Brown, who nobody's probably ever heard of, was second on the team in targets and catches. So, Brandon Cook to me stood out in a big way. But again, when he's healthy, he's a really good option. Again, like I said, he had 1,100 yards. I mean, he does produce. But again, with all that's going on with Houston, it's kind of a big surprise that they're able to stand on their own 2 feet. So that's, like I said, probably is picked up in a lot of leagues, but for him to do this with all that's happened, that stood out for me anyways.
No, I totally agree with you. And the Houston head coach, why is his name escaping me?
David Culley.
Yes, he was as a Chiefs fan, he was the Chiefs wide receiver coach the year that the wide receivers scored 0 touchdowns. With that said, he got that off his back with Amendola catching the touchdown.
Yep.
So that's still there, everybody. But no, yeah, I had Cooks on my list too. I mean, I mean, the Texans aren't a good team. We all know that.
Right.
But it says a lot about Jacksonville. I'll tell you that.
And I will say, they do play Cleveland, and Tyreek went off on Cleveland. Everybody's talking about, Cleveland's going to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. They got this great defense. Well, Tyreek Hill made John Johnson, who's a great player, by the way, he made John Johnson look silly on that long pass. So, I mean, apparently Cleveland's still, at the moment, having trouble defending the pass. Of course, it was Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, but, I mean, getting 97 yards and 197 yards, that's a big difference. So, yeah. I mean, I could see Brandon Cooks having another really good game this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Anything else on Cooks, guys? All right, let's go back to last Thursday night's game. Let's talk about Gronk. Let's get the party going. He caught all 8 of his targets for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns, guys.
Yeah.
Hell of a night. I mean, pretty much all the Tampa Bay receivers had a good game, right?
Mike Evans, no.
Okay. Well, there's gotta be one, damn it. But I mean, he went off, and then they play the Falcons. I mean, that's a great matchup. And then they have 2 tough games at week 3 at the Rams, and then week 4 the Brady and Gronk return to New England. So,
boy,
definitely like week 2 is definitely a juicy matchup.
Yeah.
But the next 2 could be a little more tough. What do you guys think?
I just think Gronk's the guy for a tight end for that team. I mean, you just see like the chemistry that him and Brady have ever since they were in New England. Like that one play where I think he just went right up the seam before he caught that touchdown pass. Like he just chipped the defensive end. He saw the guy who would have taken him on if Gronk was to release and go out. He was blitzing. So Gronk just went through. I mean, it's just one of those that those two know like exactly what to do when the defense is giving them what they give them. So, I mean, it's just something, it's just that connection. And just those two are going to have, all throughout the season. Like, will Gronk have like stellar games all throughout the season? Probably not. But there's no reasonable doubt that he can be a top 6 to 8 tight end throughout the rest of the season.
I think putting Gronk in back in the tight end 1 conversation. That seems kind of easy right now, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's if that wide receiver core wasn't that stout, I'd put him in the top 3 to 4, no problem.
I think he's top 5 right now.
Yeah,
I'd put him in the top 5, but I think he'll actually. You know what? I know the Rams are a tough matchup, But I mean, Cole Kmet had like 5 catches for 42 yards, which is not as outstanding. But I mean, considering that Andy Dalton was the quarterback pretty much almost the entire game, except for that touchdown pass or touchdown run that Fields had. But so I still think he could actually put up some good numbers against the Rams. Now the Patriots shut down Gesicki. Gesicki didn't have nothing, so I think the New England from a I mean I think the Rams defense is better than New England, but I think from a defending tight end standpoint, I think the Patriots matchup is a tougher matchup than the Rams because the Rams have a couple of good linebackers that I was thinking about getting, but they're still fairly young and fairly inexperienced. So, but yeah, this week against Atlanta, I mean, they ought to throw for 500 yards.
I didn't write him down, but a little quick hit. Higbee had a good game with Stafford. I like him going forward.
I wrote him. That's
okay. Well, then roll with it. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, 6 targets for 5 catches, 68 yards. I think we can all agree. 2 years ago in 2019, when he had everybody's favorite number, 69 catches, 734 yards. I think we all thought that he was probably in. Y'all can disagree or not, but I mean, definitely a top 10 tight end, maybe in that 6 or 7 tight end. And he had Jared Goff, or you could look at it however you want to look at it. The Rams were not as explosive on offense, but he took a nosedive. 29 less targets. I believe it was 25 less catches, and 213 yards less. Did have 2 more touchdowns, but every other stat took a nosedive. And, obviously when you get Stafford, you're hoping, okay, is he going to be better than Goff? Is he going to fit in better with Goff? And, the first week, I mean, he looked good. And it's not like the Bears defense. I mean, traditionally the Bears defense is usually really good. And Stafford made him look silly. I mean, they had that long touchdown pass to Van Jefferson. I mean, you got Jefferson involved, which, I know everybody's looking for him to be that guy. I mean, when I saw him listed behind Deshaun Jackson at one point, I'm going, that's kind of odd. So, but yeah, I mean, Tyler Higbee got back to being Tyler Higbee of 2019. When you get 734 yards as a tight end, I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's tight end one. That's tight end one territory.
And I mean, even 521, at least for my team, I would. If Dawson Knox got 521 yards, oh my God, I'd be through the roof. But yeah, I mean, it just seemed like, him and Stafford were on the right page. And I mean, we all know, I mean, they obviously saw something in Higbee to let Everett walk to their division rival. So, yeah, I'm with you. This was a good start to A, Matt Stafford, and B, to the likes of Tyler Higbee and even Van Jefferson, who only had 2 catches, but he had that long touchdown. But yeah, I mean, it was good to see Tyler Higbee, who I have in one of my leagues. It was good to see him get back to being Tyler Higbee.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree with you more. Guards, you got anything on Higbee?
Guard walked away.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at stats. All right, I want to talk one more tight end. Whatever. He had a good game based off last year. David Njoku. He caught 3 for 76. Definitely taking advantage of Odell Beckham being out week 1. He has already been declared out for week 2. I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm not excited. Excited is not the word, but I'm very curious to see what the fuck's going on, to be honest with you. Because that's huge in my opinion. So yeah,
I guess shorts, so I'm excited.
Njoku. I think Hooper had 3 catches or something like that in the first drive. Like he started strong and then nothing, and then Njoku, I mean, like I said, he took over, catching 70, going for 76 yards. We already said this earlier. They play Houston, so good matchup for him again. And then they play the Bears, and then they're at the Vikings. This is definitely. I don't know. Maybe he slipped through some guys to the way. That's a guy that could have slipped through the waiver, the first round of waiver claims, and could be a guy at worth an ad.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's the most I don't know. Maybe y'all disagree. He's the most athletic one of those three guys. I mean, I think Cooper's probably maybe is more polished in his route running, or just knows where it needs to be. But Njoku's definitely the most, I would say, athletic one of the three. So obviously, you hope to see him, stand out maybe more than the other guys, even the Harrison Bryant, who's younger. But from an athletic standpoint, you hope to see Njoku stand out than maybe the other two.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like I said, nothing.
And I'll just say, yeah, they're going to have to use their tight ends because, like you said, Odell's hurt, Jarvis. I mean, they got Shorts. I mean, their wide receiver room is very limited.
Yeah,
Donovan Peoples-Jones. I know they were big on Donovan Peoples-Jones. I can't even remember if he had a catch or not. If he did,
I don't think he only had 2 looks or something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing too big.
yeah.
So, I mean,
the guy Schwartz, he had like a 50-yard catch.
Yeah. So as great as they are at running back and as loaded they can be at tight end, wide receivers is very thin.
So yeah, just a little thing. I have 2 quarterbacks left. Do you guys have anybody wide receiver, tight end, running back left?
Ooh, where do I start? I will go. Here's one. I don't know what y'all think. Brian Edwards.
Okay.
Because this was a guy that only had 10. I believe he only had 10 or 11 catches, and a lot of the Raiders did something. I mean, like Zay Jones had 46 yards. Ruggs is supposed to be the guy. He had 46 yards, but Brian Edwards actually had more yards receiving than all those guys, including Hunter Renfrow, who had 6 catches. But Brian Edwards had 5 targets, 4 catches, 81 yards. And for me, I kept hearing, oh, he's their number 2. He's their number 2. But for me, you got to prove it, especially after when you only have 10 catches last year. So for him to go out there, 5 targets, 4 catches, 81 yards for a guy that they obviously see a lot of and stand out more than Henry Ruggs, you could dare say about the same as Hunter Renfrow because he had many catches. But I thought it was good. Again, he's not the sexiest of all these picks that we have, but it stood out for me for a guy that you keep hearing he's the number 2, he's the number 2, he's the number 2. And he was a 3rd-round pick last year. So I thought this was a good start for a guy that could blossom into being, number 2 or number 3 at best.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this will like progress throughout each other game because I know the rest of his didn't happen until the 4th quarter, which was kind of, not something people actually did put him in DFS or anything else like that. Like it's just something that kind of like it's like after the 3rd quarter, you're like, am I going to get anything out of this guy? So he pretty much had like a couple of catches that pretty much saved Derek Carr in a way too, because Derek Carr, I think he like launched one up, like blindsided. It looked like he wanted to throw it out of bounds, but it didn't reach that, and Edwards caught it. So that was a good like 25 to 30-yard catch right there. So, I mean, I like Brian Edwards, man. I mean, he's capable of doing it. I mean, he's a good route runner. He's got the body and size to like be able to do the 50-50 catches as well. It's just, are they going to be able to utilize him well? I mean, Darren Waller is capturing everything for that team. I mean, Henry Ruggs hasn't really done anything to like wow us right now. So I mean, Brian Edwards, he's got the possibility to be something, but it's the Darren Waller show for this team. I mean, it's basically, I mean, if they can get Edwards, acclimated with especially early in each game, I mean, it could definitely be the sky's the limit for this kid.
Yeah.
So,
because like I said, Zay Jones only had 2 catches, which one of them had happened to be the most important one. But Henry
Mm-hmm.
Ruggs, I think, only had 2 catches. So, I mean, like you said, I think the opportunity is there for him to stand out. Hunter Renfrow had 6 catches, but, those were the only 2 that really stood out for me.
Yeah. And right now they're going against Pittsburgh right now this week too. So I probably would fade him this coming week.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of names. I don't want to. I got a whole bunch of names if you want me to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just guys that, guys that stand out for different reasons, but like, DJ Moore, because we heard about how Robbie Anderson and Sam Darnold played together at the Jets, and Robbie Anderson only had 3 targets. DJ Moore had 8. He had 6 catches for 80 yards. Robbie Anderson did have a 57-yard touchdown catch, but just 1 out of 3 targets. So for me, I mean, again, you keep hearing about this chemistry that Robbie Anderson and Darnold have, whereas it sounds like DJ Moore, they had more of a chemistry between the 2. Another guy is KJ Osborne from Minnesota. Considering that the Vikings don't really, their tight end situation, I know Conklin had a few catches, but let's be honest, after Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who's their number 3? KJ Osborne. I mean, in my opinion, they were hoping for Chad Beebe. I think they were hoping for Dede Westbrook, but I mean, Dede Westbrook probably hasn't learned the playbook. He hasn't been there that long. And then I think it was Obiasi Johnson. He's out for a year, or he got hurt. So KJ Osborne had 9 targets, 7 catches, 76 yards, which was only second to Thielen. He had 2 more targets than Justin Jefferson. He had 2 more catches than Justin Jefferson, had 5 more yards. So, I mean, they're looking for that number 3 receiver. And so he was a guy that stood out for me. And then, again, Gary, you might like this, Devontae Smith. First game, I get it that he has played with Jalen Hurts, but again, you never know if that chemistry is going to be there the first game. And again, it was against Atlanta, but you don't know what the chemistry is going to be like. But he had 8 targets, 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown, which I think it was more than Jalen Reagor, but even more than Hurts. I can't remember what Goddard had, but I believe he had better stats than Goddard did. But I think, I seem to like the chemistry that they had. It translated to back when they were in college. I don't know. What do you think about that one?
I like what I saw. Devonta Smith's capable of gaining separation easily, man. I think when he caught that touchdown when I was at Josh's house, like he literally poured it on the defensive back. It's what I always say. Like, if you're gaining separation, quarterback's going to look at you more often than anybody else. So, that's the easy throw for that quarterback. Mm-hmm. And especially with somebody like Jalen Hurts in his second season, and we are all wondering how. We all know his rushing ability is great, but like his passing capability, is it gonna bleed through for the rest of the season? How's that gonna look? So with somebody like Devontae Smith, who's capable of doing that, who's capable of like beating press coverage, who's capable of reading most zone coverage. It's a good fit for him right now. And so far so good. Both of them look pretty well.
Yeah. And then I'll just say one more. This is really left field. Really, really left field. But I think maybe, Gary, you might have walked off. But, we all know the Houston Texans tight end room is a black hole. You know how much I love Brevin Jordan coming out. But Brevin Jordan was out last week. I think he's probably going to be out this week. You thought Jordan Akins might be the guy, but this Farrell Brown had 5 targets, 4 catches for 67 yards. Do I think he's going to sustain it? Probably not. But for a team that's looked for a tight end for the last, 20 years, it feels like. It impressed me because anything they can get from a tight end is bonus. So again, do I think he'll sustain it? No. But as far as surprising me, it surprised the hell out of me because. you never know who their fucking tight end is going to be every year. So
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really talk about tight ends a whole lot, but so I thought I'd mention that one because I think he was like top 6 or 7 as far as receiving yards among tight ends. So, so I have a lot more, but I'll just leave it at that. I have a lot more names, but I'll just leave it at that.
Oh good. Let's make the QB jump.
Okay.
The first one it was a losing effort, but if you look at it from a fantasy standpoint, I think he kind of overachieved on what everybody was going for this year, and that's Jared Goff. 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like I mean, it's comeback, whatever, garbage time, whatever you want to call it, but fantasy points are fantasy points, guys. Definitely, I feel like the game plan. I mean, if you look at who he targeted, it was all Hawkinson and Jamal Williams, who let's rewind a little bit. He kind of got some people worked up because it said he was going to carry the load in Detroit over Swift, but I mean, they both had 8 catches. I think Swift had out carried him. So I mean, but the Hawkinson and running back screens all day. Let's go for 300 yards. I'll take it. I'll take it from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think of like back to when Jared Goff. How many passing attempts did he have? He has 57 passing attempts.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing that like crazy in fucking Los Angeles too. And this is something that I was kind of wondering. Like, I mean, if he's going to be passing like that, like Josh just said, the beneficiaries are Hawkinson and the 2 running backs. Like, I mean, and plus, I think Anthony Lynn coming from the Chargers of Los Angeles Chargers. You got to remember he dealt with Melvin Gordon, who was going to be the rushing back. And that's kind of like what you see in Jamal Williams. And you had the Austin Eckler, which is almost kind of like DeAndre Swift right now too. So I mean, I get, and plus they were kind of easing him in. I know Swift was like easing back from like a small injury and whatnot. So it's just this team is going to be behind a lot. I hate to say it out loud. I know one of our cohorts, I should say, Shane. It'll hurt, but like I just Goff is going to be an interesting quarterback rest of the season when he's got 60 pass attempts under his belt per game.
Yeah, and
it's still. I'm sorry. And besides Hawkinson, I mean, the wide receiver core is so suspect right now. I mean,
yep. I was just about to say that.
Just about anybody you want to name on there, like what kind of passing attempts you want to get out of them.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Gary. Yep, you took the words out of my mouth.
I think Tyrell Williams got injured, didn't he?
He did.
He didn't have any targets. No, he had 3. I'm sorry.
I think they're technically their leading receiver as far as wide receivers was Khalif Raymond,
You are
who
correct.
had 3 catches, 50 yards.
Yeah.
So I mean, and he's your 3rd or 4th receiver. He's their 3rd or 4th receiver, if I'm not mistaken.
Quintez Cephas touchdown, baby. Let's go, Gary. You're like,
Amon-Ra, St. Brown. I think. I mean, it's just those 3. I mean, it's going to be a young wide receiver core right now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, minus Tyrell Williams. Yep. Absolutely.
Plus, they let go of Brashard Perriman before the season started. So, I mean, you're looking at these 3 guys: Khalif Raymond, Quintez Cephas, and you're looking at what's his name that I forgot?
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra,
who was a 4th round pick. So, I mean, you don't see many 4th round picks like starting the season. So it's gonna be interesting.
DK
on my taxi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know this is just a random fact. They traded for this guy named Trendy Benson, a wide receiver. They traded their 5th and 6th round picks for him, for some guy that has never produced.
He got 6 targets. Trinity.
Yeah, he had 3 catches, 19 yards. But I thought that was kind of odd. I'd never heard of him, and they traded their 5th and 6th round picks for him.
He went from East Central College. I've never even heard of that.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Let's jump. I got one more quarterback on here, guys, and it's Jameis. 5 touchdowns on 148 yards. That has to be some kind of crazy stat. But no interceptions. Thank you, LASIK. And I we were watching more of the Chiefs game instead of the Saints and Packers game. But I mean, I don't know if I don't know. I did not predict that score. Nobody would have ever said that. But I don't know. What do you guys think about Jameis?
I guess the LASIK works. I wish he'd thrown more. I wish he would thrown more to Marquez Callaway, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
Deontay Harris at least got 72 yards and a touchdown. I guess
Juwan Johnson, that's a tight end that we should probably mention.
Oh yeah, 3 catches, 21 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
Well, I mean, what did Troutman have? Didn't he have a lot more targets than that?
3 catches, 18 yards. I think he had 6 targets.
I was right. Ty was right. 6 targets.
Yeah. Okay. Couldn't remember. Did he have a touchdown?
He had no touchdowns. Good night. One catch.
Touchdown. That's right.
1 catch for 10 yards and a touchdown. He left the NFL, went and played pro lacrosse, people, and is now back. And yeah.
Don't you know his nickname was in Miami?
Pray tell.
7-Eleven.
Because he's always open. So good. Oh, so good.
But yeah, I guess the LASIK helped.
I mean, he only threw 20 times too. I think they were in the league pretty early. So,
oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll probably see more pass attempts out of him. But when he's throwing and completing 14 passes out of 20 and throwing 5 touchdowns, that's unlikely he's going to be doing that all the time. So, almost like a third of his passes, a little bit over a third of his passes for touchdowns. Passing completions.
I will say, and I'm sure a lot of his carries were at the end of the game because they're kicking the shit out of him. But if you need a backup running back in one of these deeper leagues, I think Tony Jones is a guy that I would pick up. 11 carries for 50 yards. But, obviously, Latavius Murray's been there for a few years. And for them to get rid of Latavius Murray, they obviously see something in Tony Jones. Also went to Notre Dame, by the way. So, I mean, he's a guy worth picking up in one of these deeper leagues that, there's no more starting running backs available unless it's Elijah Mitchell. He's a guy worth picking up in a deeper league.
Mm-hmm. So I'm with you, man. Any other guys you want to talk about tonight?
Well, I mean, we didn't talk about Mark Ingram, right?
No, get at it.
We did see he had the second most rushing attempts in the league this week.
Mm-hmm.
So right behind Joe Mixon, who had 29, we did see Mark Ingram with 26. 26 rushing attempts.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is somebody you can pull him off the waiver wire, but we don't see this kind of game script going for Houston the rest of the season. They're going to be going against, let's name it all, Cleveland, very good defense line.
Yeah.
Carolina, subpar. So, I mean, you could probably see a little bit of something right there. Also, you got Buffalo, New England, Indy, Arizona. Arizona looked pretty good defensively.
Yes, they did.
This past week, too. But going back on this, we did see Mark Ingram have the bulk of the carries for this team, but we did see somewhat of a small 3-headed monster between him, Phillip Lindsay, and David Johnson as well. So, I mean, if they're going to be in passing trouble, it looked like it was David Johnson. He was the one who was getting targeted out of all 3 of them. But, I mean, Ingram's 31. He's going to get tired, and he's not going to make a full season. But if you're capable, if you need it, I mean, obviously we've had some running backs go down early before the season started. So it's just, you can plug him in, see if he's going to work. I mean, you're sure going to have to rotate with this backfield like Houston.
Yeah, because
You kind of don't want to touch it, but I mean, when you have no other, you can't solve it any other way. I mean, you might as well just plug them in and see what happens.
I didn't really like the fact that I don't know. Maybe this is me, and maybe I'm big on yards per carry, and I know that's not everything because sometimes they get big runs or small runs, but I don't remember what David Johnson got, but I do know that Mark Ingram only averaged 3.3 yards per carry, and Philip Lindsay only averaged 3.1. He did have a touchdown, but to me, none of them really stood out other than Mark Ingram because of the amount of workload he got, which looks great for fantasy, but reality is it continues a trend of 3.3. At some point, they need to go a different direction. So that's the only thing I would look out for is not any of them really stood out as far as, yards per carry.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And David Johnson, low man on the totem pole when it comes to carries. He caught a touchdown, but yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. But I mean, Ty, you hit the nail on the head. This game script is probably not going to happen much with the Texans.
Yeah. No, because other than maybe a couple games, I think they'll be playing from behind. Unless Tyrod is for real. Unless this offense is for real. They were playing the Jaguars. So that's the way I look at it.
Again, I don't know. I'm almost more inclined that the Jaguars that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well,
what are you gonna say?
Who's left? Who's Goldberg? Who's next?
Kind of want to touch on the Cardinals, actually. I don't know how y'all feel, but a couple guys at least, and so maybe I'm a little biased, but we keep hearing about Chase Edmonds being the number one guy, and then James Conner actually got 4 more carries, but Chase Edmonds was actually more productive. And I say this, he's always been a good player, but I was looking up the stats from last year. He started 2 games last year. He had 3 carries against 13 yards against Detroit. The other game he had against Miami was 25 carries, 70 yards. And Miami was like a middle of the pack run defense. So he's always been kind of that change of direction back. And I guess, James Conner got the more carries, but I was impressed that Chase Edmonds put up 12 carries, 63 yards, 4 targets, 4 catches, 43 yards. Now, again, Titans defense is not that great, but again, neither was Miami's as far as the run defense goes. Middle of the pack, that's nothing to write home about. So I was happy because I have Chase Edmonds in a couple of leagues. I was happy to see him average 5.3 yards a carry and almost 11 yards a catch, whereas James Conner had 16 carries, 51 yards, only averaged 3.2. So I was very encouraged by that stat line. And then another 2 guys for the Cardinals. Obviously, D-Hop did his thing, but we keep hearing about Rondale Moore being that number 2 or going to take over for that number 2. And he did well. I mean, 5 targets, 4 catches, 68 yards. But who knows if Christian Kirk's going to hang on, is going to do what he did. But he caught all 5 targets, had 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. But
yeah, dude.
If you're a Christian Kirk guy, you've been hanging on to Christian Kirk. I mean, you love seeing that. I mean, that's what, 21 and a half points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, has he ever done that before? Except for maybe 1 or 2 times. So
he does it a couple times during the season. So I mean, he's kind of
exactly. So, but if you've had Christian Kirk in a dynasty or you happen to pick him up, you had to be encouraged by this stat line, and you had to be. And as far as Cardinals fans, you had to be encouraged by Kyler. Just 5 total touchdowns, 289 yards passing. I can't remember how much rushing yards, but you had to be encouraged, especially because you keep hearing about the Titans offense and all these great players they got on offense, but they're kind of like the Vikings. What happens if Julio and AJ Brown get hurt? In fact, AJ Brown is hurt. Who do you go to after that?
Yeah.
Just like the Minnesota Vikings. What if Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen gets hurt?
Yeah.
I mean, KJ Osborne did well, but that was one game, and I'm impressed. And I actually wanted to get him in our Chuba League, but somebody picked him up. I don't know who did, but as far as the Titans go, your next receiver is Chester Rogers.
Yeah.
Who actually led the team in receiving yards. And he's been a cast off for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
He was with the Colts. They thought he was going to be the guy that was going to play alongside T.Y. Hilton. So, I mean, again, it was all great that they got Julio and A.J. Brown and, Derrick Henry and Fersker, but you get one of these injuries, you get one of these wide receivers hurt, they're screwed. And if you're able to match up with them man-to-man or run a zone, because I tell you what, that's what Pittsburgh did to Buffalo. Pittsburgh ran zone the entire time in Buffalo. As much as we got all these great wide receivers, I hate to say this, but Josh Allen struggles against zone coverage. It's legit. Those first 4 games where he was awesome, teams were running man on him.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to expose them. But once you start running zone on Josh Allen, you expose him for, unfortunately, what he is. But so I kind of went off tangent, but I guess the moral of the story is just, like I said, if you're the Cardinals fans, you like what you saw out of Rondale Moore, who's a rookie, because, again, not every rookie had a great game. You had to be encouraged by Christian Kirk because you've been waiting for him to be that number 2. D-Hop was D-Hop. Chase Edmonds ran well, and then their defense was unbelievable. I think Chandler Jones had 5 sacks.
Yeah. If you were in a league that does IDP,
Damn
you
right.
were hopefully you won because he
Yeah.
crushed it, dude. He crushed.
I wish I had him. I mean, I just picked him up in our league, but I wish I had him last week. I would have won. I lost by 22 points, and he got 28, so I would have won. So,
Good
but
night.
yeah, you got to be encouraged by what you saw as a Cardinals fan, especially because they missed out on the last game of the year. They missed out on the playoffs. So
yeah, and they got JJ.
And they got JJ. So
yeah,
but I digress.
Yeah, all good. All right. Well, I think is that all? Are we good? We got out of our system.
Yeah, I keep going on, but I know what's it? 10, 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all the guys we got for tonight.
Well, can I ask just real quick? And I like doing this. I like talking about other teams. What did you guys think of both y'all's teams' performances?
Good, Gars.
I was happy with it. I'm just I'm not looking forward to them winning the division. I mean, they're ahead in the division. Philadelphia's looking pretty good. But I mean, with the new head coach, new offensive scheme, new defensive coordinator, a QB that most people don't know if he's going to be there next year or the starter next year, or and they got 3 first-round picks. They look pretty good, but it's against Atlanta, who's still trying to figure themselves out as well. So they're playing was San Fran this week. So I'm just kind of just interested to see how this season turns out. I'm not really worried about anything. I just really want to see I want to see how Devonta Smith is, man. So it's him. It's Goddard. It's Gainwell. Is he going to be? He looks like he already surpassed Boston Scott. So I'm kind of interested. I'm very surprised how that happened. Boston Scott didn't even have a rep at all in the offense. He just played special teams. So that's that's interesting to me. So Gainwell, pretty much, he surprised me being a rookie. So
yeah, touchdown. Didn't he have a touchdown?
He did. Mm-hmm.
And Miles Sanders almost 5 yards a pop.
Mm-hmm.
I think Devontae Smith could have another good game this week because they just lost Barrett. 49ers just lost Barrett. He's out for the year. Their corners are.
That dude's always hurt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
He was always hurt when he was a Charger.
Yep. but the 49ers corners are absolute garbage. So I think Devontae, he could have another beast game.
Oh, that'd be
But-
fun to watch.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh? What do you think of KC?
I mean, offense was, it was great as usual. Of course, I wish not really from a fantasy standpoint, but just as a balanced team, I'd like to see Clyde rush a little more. Just to, I don't try to, not get it all on Mahomes, but anyways, defense was not very good. No Honey Badger, no Frank Clark, but they're both practicing this week, which is nice. I mean, I'm more worried about Honey Badger than Frank Clark. Because Stone Cold Chris Jones was he had a very great second half. But anyways, no, it was great. And then I mean, I really don't see the well, I don't know, because the Raiders, I didn't know the Carr put up 435 yards, but I mean they lit up the Ravens defense. No Marcus Peters.
Lost Matt Judon.
Oh, good night. I didn't know that either.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean KC going into Baltimore on a Sunday night game, that's gonna be a tough W. I mean, I
think they win that one.
You can't win them all, but I mean, you walk out of, I mean, whatever. If we hang with them, I'm fine with it. But I mean, I really don't see us winning that game, but we shall see. But like I said, offense was rocking. So, but all right, let's get out of here, boys. We gotta I got some lineups to set. I got some bets to make. All that fun stuff, guys. We're back in it. Let's go. Let's go. All right. I'll get us out of here for Ty at 757 Bills Mafia. He will be the only Bills fan where I gotta get this out before the Thursday night game now, damn it. He will be the only guy wearing a Bills jersey at the Washington football game. And then Gary at guards_poetica, keeping up the website, and and we're rocking. I'm at jhicks804. We're all at the I can't talk, at the Flug_FF and www.theflug.com, Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. Guys, we will be back next week with we're gonna do something, obviously, because that's what we do for the rest of the winter. Okay. All right, thanks everybody. Night, boys.
God, I hope the Bills win next week.
Well, we're gonna be 0-2.
No, don't say that. Ty might not come back. Ty might not come back.
I might not.
No, you will. All right, guys. Night, everybody.